New at noon, rapper Lil Boosie is expected in a Houston courtroom today after police say he attacked a security guard at a nightclub. The rapper, whose real name is Torrance Hatch Jr., is charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Court documents say the incident started when a security guard refused to let one of Boosie's friends use the restroom after the club.
One courtroom date can flip an entire career upside down. And right now, Boosie Badazz is staring at the kind of situation that does not care how famous you are, how many fans are riding with you, or how many times you say the whole thing is a setup. What started as a late-night argument at a Houston club has turned into a federal problem, and that is the part everybody needs to understand. This is not just about one security worker, one broken hookah base, or one messy night after closing time. This has now landed back in front of the same federal system that had already given Boosie a major break.
Do you remember 2016 when everyone thought Boosie had a year to live because he had cancer? Thug had that fire. Cancer? Shout out to.
Yeah.
Bro, Boosie needs to sit his old ass down and just focus on his podcast. This is like a 56-year-old man. We need to stop acting like he's a YN.
According to the reports, the incident went down at Dome nightclub in Houston after the party was basically over. Police say one of Boosie's people wanted to use the restroom after closing, and security was not going for it. That alone sounds like one of those small club arguments that could have ended with everybody walking away mad. But instead, the story took a hard turn. A woman was escorted out, some belongings hit the floor, and when a security worker bent down to grab them, he says something came down on his head from behind. Investigators say the object was a glass hookah base. The guard told officers that after he was struck, he turned around and saw Boosie holding what was left of it. Court papers say the security worker had a head injury that needed 8 staples. That detail is why this did not stay in the lane of a regular argument. Once an object gets described as a weapon in paperwork, the case gets much heavier, and now Boosie is facing a state-level aggravated assault charge in Texas. Boosie, whose legal name is Torrance Hatch, has denied the picture being painted by police. He came out and said this was basically a money grab, the kind of thing entertainers deal with when somebody sees a famous name and smells a payday. He told fans he was okay, said life was just doing what life does, and made it clear that he believes the facts will look different once his side gets fully heard in court. His lawyer also said they plan to fight the case hard and suggested Boosie may have been defending another person.
Oh, gee, this is horrible, bro. You don't think this is a conspiracy, bro? So they don't have, he didn't do it to himself, man. Give him a shot. He been trying to make money and stuff doing the shows.
Wait a minute, how is he making money with a broken hookah glass in his hand? He don't even smoke hookah.
That defense is important, because if Boosie's team can show the Texas case is not what police say it is, that could change everything. But here's where the trapdoor opens. Boosie is not walking into this situation as a regular citizen with no other legal pressure around him. He is already on federal supervised release from a gun case in California. That means even before Texas decides what happened in the club, the federal court can look at the new charge and decide whether Boosie violated the rules of his release. Back in January, Boosie caught what a lot of people saw as a blessing. The government wanted time behind the wall in his federal gun case, but the judge gave him supervised release instead. He got time served, 3 years under federal supervision, a fine and community service. For somebody in his position, that was a serious break. It meant he could stay outside, keep working, keep touring, keep moving around as long as he followed the rules. But federal supervision is not a handshake agreement. It is a tight leash with paperwork attached to every move. Now, the U.S. Probation Office is saying he failed to take advantage of the chance the court gave him. They filed paperwork asking the judge to revoke his supervised release and send him to federal custody for 18 months. Some reports say the exposure could be between 18 and 24 months, depending on how the judge sees it. Either way, the message from probation is clear. They believe Boosie's behavior shows he cannot stay inside the lines the court drew for him.
Yeah, what do y'all think about Boosie? Do you think he needs to move smarter? Do you think they just harassing him? They just with him? What do you think?
I think the feds gotta let Lil Boosie be free so he can keep terrorizing Black Boy Max and all of his cohort.
I don't want to hear that after that conversation yesterday, all right?
He brings balance to the force.
The filing does not only talk about the Houston club case. That is the headline, but it is not the whole package. Probation officials also claim Boosie traveled from Georgia to Houston without the approval he needed. They say he was scheduled as a headliner at Dome nightclub across 2 nights and did not properly get permission from his officer or the court to leave the district. For anybody not familiar with federal supervision, travel permission is not a small technicality. It can become a violation all by itself. Boosie pushed back on that fast. He said he did notify his probation officer and that the email giving the Houston travel details was there, just overlooked because it was buried near the flight information. According to Boosie, his officer found it and said he would not count the Houston trip as a violation. Boosie said he has done more than 50 shows while on supervision and has gone through the proper process every time. In his words, he is not careless enough to throw away his freedom over something as simple as travel paperwork. The filing also mentions a test from January that allegedly showed cannabinoids in his system. Boosie addressed that too. He said he had that in his system when he first got on federal paper, but every test after that has been clean. He said he gets tested constantly, and he has been staying sharp because he knows what is at stake. He was basically telling people, I am not new to this, and I am not about to play myself while the government is watching me this closely.
He said this man just won't mind.
Oh, gee, come on, bruh. The man was out there. He didn't even hit that man with that hookah, and they know it. They trying to pick him because they know he's the money bag. They don't want to sue the broke dudes or the dudes who are around him. He didn't hit nobody. I seen the video, man. This is bull crap.
But the government's language in the filing was not soft. Probation described him as someone who had been shown leniency and then quickly displayed a pattern of noncompliance. They also brought up his past and argued that his lifestyle keeps putting him around risky environments, weapons issues, rough situations, and the kind of circles that supervision is supposed to keep him away from. That wording matters because it tells the judge they are not only looking at one night in Houston, they are trying to frame this as a bigger pattern. The judge, Kathy Ann Bensavengo, did not immediately issue a bench warrant. That is a major detail. Probation wanted action, but the judge decided not to have Boosie picked up right away. Instead, she ordered him to appear in court in San Diego on July 10th to explain why his supervised release should not be revoked. That does not mean he is safe. It just means the judge wants him in court before making the next move. In federal court, that kind of hearing can still turn serious very quickly. This puts Boosie in a brutal position. He has the Texas case on one side, with another court date reportedly set for September 15th. Then he has the federal court on the other side, where the issue is not whether Texas has already convicted him. The issue is whether the judge believes he broke the conditions of supervision. That is why fans are nervous. In the federal system, the standard can feel different. Sometimes just being charged, depending on the evidence and the judge's view, can create enough smoke to cause real consequences.
And Hatch currently lives in Atlanta. Now he faces a maximum of 15 years behind bars. His defense attorney did not disclose any parts of the plea agreement or any details about it, but the judge made it very clear today, regardless of what's in that plea agreement, it is the sentencing judge who will have the final say. So the sentencing hearing is set for November 21st, which is just days after Hatch's birthday.
Boosie's supporters are saying this looks like pressure from above. He himself claimed his probation officer has been fair, but that the people over him have an issue with him. He also said he was asked about allowing conversations to be recorded and refused. Whether that part becomes important or not, it gives fans a glimpse into how tense this whole supervision relationship may have become behind the scenes. Boosie is not just fighting a charge, he is fighting the impression that federal officials already have their minds made up. On social media, he sounded frustrated but also determined. He said he would not sit back and let people drag his name. He pointed to his community service, his shows, his testing, and his attorneys working to get the Houston case dismissed. That is the version his fans are holding on to. Boosie as the entertainer who has been trying to stay on track while the system keeps waiting for him to slip. But courtrooms do not run on fan loyalty. They run on filings, testimony, reports, and whatever the judge believes is most credible. At the same time, the Houston allegations are not light. Police paperwork says the guard was hit in the head and needed staples. Reports also say another security worker witnessed the incident. Investigators claim Boosie left before officers could interview him. That does not prove the whole story by itself, but it gives prosecutors material to work with. Boosie's team will likely challenge every piece of that, from who saw what, to where everybody was standing, to whether the guard's version leaves anything out.
Let me tell you something, man. You know, they putting a damn a 10 on a 2, bro. This brother is he's not like that, bro. He was out there doing a job. He had a walkthrough deal to do, and he didn't report it, and that's fine. Give him a break.
His lawyer's statement about defending another person could become the centerpiece of the defense. If they can show someone close to Boosie was being mistreated or threatened, they may argue the situation was not a random attack. They may also go after the security worker's credibility, which Boosie already tried to do publicly when he made claims about the man's background. That is risky, though. It can rally the internet, but in court, lawyers have to prove why any of it matters to the actual incident. What makes this whole situation feel bigger is Boosie's history with the federal gun case. That case started in San Diego after authorities said they spotted a firearm during monitoring connected to social media activity, then tracked him and later found a pistol during a traffic stop. The case dragged through different turns until Boosie accepted a plea deal because, as he said at the time, he was tired of fighting. After that, getting supervised release instead of real federal time looked like a clean escape from the worst outcome. Now, only months after that January sentence, the same case is back in the headlines. That is why people are saying this could be the moment that decides whether Boosie continues moving around freely or has to sit down for a while. Probation is recommending 18 months, and they reportedly want that time to run separate from whatever happens in Texas. That means they do not want one case to cancel out the other. They want federal consequences even if the state case brings its own outcome.
I am optimistic for Mr. Hatch. He, as he just explained, wanted nothing more than to accept responsibility and put this behind him. And now it's my job to make sure the court understands the scope of the case and what the case is really about, and more importantly, all of the amazing things that Mr. Hatch has done for the community, continues to do, and the amazing things that he will do going forward.
For an artist, that kind of uncertainty can wreck everything. Shows, travel, business plans, film releases, music rollouts, family family obligations, all of it gets tied to court dates and permission slips. There had already been talk online about Boosie possibly being connected to big tour movement, including cash money and no-limit related conversations. Whether that was locked in or just industry chatter, one thing is obvious. It is much easier to perform, earn, and fight a case when you are outside than when your schedule belongs to the court. There's also the public image side. Boosie has built a career partly on being outspoken, raw, and unfiltered. That is why people watch him. He says what he feels, even when it makes headlines. But that same energy can be dangerous when federal paperwork is involved. Every post, every video, every statement can get pulled into the bigger story. Fans may hear passion. Officials may hear defiance. That gap can cost a person more than they expect. The probation office is painting him as someone who ignored the structure given to him. Boosie is painting himself as someone being targeted after doing what he was supposed to do. Those are two completely different stories, and the judge will have to decide which one feels closer to reality. The travel email detail could help him if it checks out. The clean testing claim could help him if records support it. But the Houston case still sits in the middle of the room, and that is the piece no social media post can erase overnight.
Only 3 years, but he just got it in January 2026. So they're trying to sentence him, send him back to jail for that, I guess. They didn't think 3 years was enough.
So we sentenced to 3 years of 2026, January.
The timing is also rough. This is not happening years after supervision started. It is happening shortly after the court gave him a chance. Judges do not like feeling like their mercy was wasted. Even if Boosie believes he is innocent, probation can argue that the trouble itself shows poor adjustment. That phrase may sound boring, but in court language, it can be damaging. It basically means they think the person is not adapting to supervision in a way that gives the court confidence. Still, the judge denying an immediate warrant leaves space for Boosie's attorneys to work. They can come into San Diego with documents, travel records, testing records, proof of community service, and arguments about why the Texas case should not be used to revoke him before it plays out. They can also argue that he has been productive, working, showing up, and staying connected to lawful business. That is probably the lane they will take, because they need to remind the judge why supervised release was granted in the first place. The state case in Houston is its own mountain. The charge is serious, and the court date in September means that part will not disappear instantly. If the Texas side moves slowly, the federal court may still move faster. That is the scary part for Boosie. He could be fighting to keep his freedom in California before the Texas case ever reaches a final answer. People often think one court waits politely for another court. That is not always how this goes.
That's right, and his legal name is Torrance Hatch. Now, a lot of times defendants don't really want to talk to us if they're still going through court proceedings, but he was fine with it. He says he accepts responsibility for what happened, and he's ready to move forward.
For now, Boosie is out on bond in the Houston matter, and his team is saying they want the charge dismissed. He is telling fans he is all right. He is saying the system is trying to make something bigger than it is. His critics are saying this is exactly why supervision exists. His supporters are saying famous people become targets as soon as there is a possible payout. And everybody else is watching the calendar because July 10th could tell us whether this stays a legal headache or turns into something much more serious. No matter which side you believe, one thing is clear. Boosie cannot afford another messy move right now. Every trip, every show, every late-night appearance, every person around him has to be thought through like a business decision. The federal court does not care about street explanations, club politics, or who started what after closing time. It cares about conditions. It cares about paperwork. It cares about whether the person under supervision looks controllable. That may not sound fair to some people, but that is the reality he's facing. This is why the next hearing matters so much. Boosie's lawyers need to convince the judge that probation is overreaching and that the new allegations should not erase the progress he says he has made. Probation needs to convince the judge that the court gave him a rare opening and he mishandled it almost immediately. Somewhere in between those two arguments is the truth the judge will act on. And once a federal judge acts, the internet reactions will not change the order. So now the question is simple but heavy. Is Boosie being pulled back into the system because officials are waiting for a reason to lock him down? Or did he put himself in the kind of position that made this almost impossible to avoid? Do you believe the Houston case is a money grab, a misunderstanding, or a real violation that could cost him 18 months or more? And should a new charge be enough to revoke supervised release before the state case is fully decided? Leave your thoughts in the comments under the video.